Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to the Correct Views. Sam IB reporting for the Media Speaks, and guess what time of month it is? It is time for the Dunce Camp of the Month Award. That's what time it is. Those of you that have been following this for every month, you know that there's always the runner-ups announced before the big kahuna, right? Friends, I have so many stupid, idiotic, moronic, sophomoric, idiots, dummies, that I can't even report all of them to you. So, the first three, I'm not even going to read the articles. I'm just going to tell you where you can find them. Keep in mind, not only are these stupid, but these are not stupid enough to win the Dunce Cap of the Month Award. You are about to watch and hear about some of the stupidest people you've ever heard. The three that I'm not going to be able to get to. Boston Airport apologizes for a drill on 9/11. That's right, Boston Logan International Airport decided to hold a drill on 9/11. Of course, they didn't tell anybody, and everybody that were near freaked out, panicked, because they thought it would be a good idea to hold a drill on 9/11. Planes crashing into buildings, 9/11, airport doesn't tell anybody that they're going to pretend that there's terrorists. Nope, not stupid enough to win, but by all means, look it up. It is on myfoxnewyork.com. There is also from the Los Angeles Times, a Bay Area McDonald's manager accused of robbing his own restaurant. That would be Felix Becerra, 42. You know what? You're dumb, dude. You gotta try harder. You didn't win the Dunce Cap of the Month Award. The other one that I can't get to, the last one, Kit Daniels, Infowars.com, EPA SWAT team raids gold miners in Alaska. Heavily armed Environmental Protection Agency, who we need to get rid of, like Ron Paul said. Their SWAT teams are now raiding gold miners in Alaska in search of possible violations of the Clean Water Act. All right, those three sound dumb. Go ahead and look them up. Here are the official runner-ups for the Dunce Cap of the Month Award. From The Telegraph. Hack the planet to counter climate change, said Lord Rees. Lord Rees is an idiot. For one thing, we have proven ad nauseum on this show that man-made global warming is a lie. Man is not changing the climate of the planet in any way, shape, matter, or form. However, this genius, who almost won the Dunce Cap of the Month Award, hacking the planet's climate could buy the world time to develop cleaner sources of energy and counter global warming, one of Britain's most senior scientists, a moron, said. He's just too proud to admit that ClimateGate has proved him wrong. I mean, if you don't believe me, look up ClimateGate. Lord Rees, the astronomer Royan, claims that launching mirrors into space, triggering algal blooms in the oceans, and seeding clouds are just some of Plan B schemes, which will have to be considered by the world leaders unless carbon emissions can be cut in the next 20 years. Of course, carbon emissions have absolutely nothing to do with global warming, as has been proven on this show ad nauseum. He is due to tell the British Scientist Festival in Newcastle that although it is an utter political nightmare because all nations would not want to adjust the thermostat the same way, hacking the planet through geoengineering will have to be discussed, The Guardian reported. I don't know how they did it with a straight face. Lord Rees is set to say that he is pessimistic about global carbon dioxide emissions and if they can be reduced to safe levels within the next 20 years. Meaning that by the end of the century, gas concentrations in the atmosphere will rise to about 500 parts per million, which will do absolutely nothing to the climate of the planet whatsoever. This could trigger a 6 degrees Celsius rise in average temperature. No, it cannot. Look up ClimateGate. And the melting of the ice caps, which would in turn could accelerate climate change. It is believed. No, it is not believed. It is only believed to be pushed forth by the UN, who wants to rope us into paying higher taxes for something that isn't happening. Look up Agenda 21. In the If the effect is strong, the world consequently seems on a rapidly warming trajectory into dangerous territory. There may be pressure for panic measures, he will say. These would be to involve a plan B, being fatalistic about continuing dependence on fossil fuels, but combating its effects by some form of geoengineering. Plan B could include putting mirrors in space to reflect sunlight away from the Earth, which is the direction that his logic has gone from his brain. Encouraging the growth of carbon dioxide-consuming algae by fertilizing the oceans with iron, even though carbon dioxide is not warming the planet. And seeding clouds in the upper layer of the Earth's atmosphere to bounce some of the sun's energy back to the stratosphere. He thinks that alongside the political issues, there could be unintended side effects to the plans. Lord Rees warns that if the measures were ever halted, climate change would return with a vengeance. It's not happening at all. And that's why he almost won the Dunce Cap of the Month award. I can't read any more of that, friends. I'm going to puke. This is from healthimpactnews.com. And these guys really came within a hair of winning the Dunce Cap of the Month award. Newborn baby seized by hospital and police because mother questioned vaccine. Health Impact News editor comments, this is what the editor wrote, this is a shocking story of how the medical community claims to have more authority over parents' children than the parents do. Michael Ferris is an attorney and a longtime champion of homeschool parents' rights. I am very happy to see him start a new foundation, and it talks about what that foundation is. It's the, well, go to the article. Guys, newborn seized by hospital, police, social worker. I am not content to sit on the sidelines while the government gradually usurps the very essence of parental rights. I hope you share my determination. We need to stand with people like Scott and Judy Ferris, obviously no relation to the article, which is Michael Ferris. Here's the story. Jody went into labor a bit earlier than she expected, and the baby was coming rapidly. Given their location and other factors, the midwife they had hoped would deliver the baby at their home and encourage them to get an ambulance and head to the hospital. Their baby, whom I will call Annie, was born in the ambulance in the parking lot of the Hershey Medical Center, a government hospital in Pennsylvania. Hospital personnel arrived very quickly and took charge of both baby and mom. As many a mother will do, Jody immediately began to ask nurses and attendants how her baby was doing. The hospital staff was utterly unresponsive. When they started to give Jody an injection, she asked what it was and what it was for. They gave her vague answers like, oh, it's just to help. Anytime anybody does anything, it's just to help, ask questions. Only after giving her the injection of Oxycontin did they tell her what it was, and then she asked, you aren't allergic to that, are you? That's a good time to ask after you've injected it. I'm telling you, dunce caps everywhere. Jody persisted in asking about Annie. No one would tell her anything other than she's in good hands and we'll be able to see her soon. Eventually, a doctor told her that Annie scored 9 on a physical exam applied to newborns known as the APGAR test. A score of 8 or higher is considered healthy. It is unclear when the score was given since she was in the ambulance at birth. Shortly after, a different doctor told Jody that Annie was very sick and would need to stay in the hospital. This doctor's comments were accompanied by an explanation of his disdain for midwives, saying too many people think they know what they're doing. So basically, he's already nefarious, you can tell. About an hour later, after another hospital staffer finally brought Annie to Jody and said the baby is doing well, she will be able to go home soon. However, several hours later, yet another staffer told Scott and Jody that Annie would have to stay in the hospital for 48 to 72 hours for observation. Even though they persisted in asking Annie why she didn't stay, his only answer was that the law requires us to keep the baby for 48 hours. Laws like that are against the Constitution and therefore should be null and void, and if you disobey them, then you are doing the Constitution a service. The Ferrises were told that Annie would not be released for this period since it was unsafe for her to leave the hospital. Eventually, a risk management staffer admitted that the risk was being managed was not the health of Annie, but the risk that the hospital might be sued if something went wrong after she was discharged. Ultimately, risk management said that they would be satisfied with a 24-hour stay, and Scott and Jody could remain with the baby overnight. I'm going to keep going because you need to understand how, the DUNCE Cap of the Month Award does have a point. Late in the afternoon, a government social worker named Angelica Lopez Higgy came into Jody's room announcing that she was there to conduct an investigation. Jody asked to know the allegations. The social worker claimed that it would be against the law for her to tell Jody the allegations. In other words, she should have told her to go to hell. Jody replied that she would not be comfortable answering the questions if she didn't know the allegations. Immediately, the social worker proclaimed, "Since you're not going to cooperate, I'll just go and call the police and we can take custody of the baby." Oh, good, that's what Nazis did. Fearing that the social worker would carry out the threat, Jody replied that she was willing to cooperate. "No, Jody, that's when you should have called an attorney, but you were on Oxycontin that they made you take, so it's not your fault." The social worker soon intimated that the issue was Jody's refusal to consent to medical treatment for the baby. Jody replied that she had no idea that anyone would say that, or why. The social worker claimed that she had refused to allow a vitamin K shot for Annie. Jody replied that no one had asked her for such a shot. Moreover, she had overheard hospital staffers saying that they had already given Annie such a shot. Neither the social worker nor any hospital staffer ever gave Jody or Scott any example of any medically necessary treatment they had refused for Annie. And as it all goes on and on and on, it's the fact that she questioned the vaccine that was actually what was doing it. It said that Annie's blood cell count was to perform a strep test, and Jody agreed to that. It says, then she was quite willing to give the shot to Annie. The hospital claimed that they had forgotten about this earlier when it was possible to test that day, and they needed to give her the shot anyway without any testing whatsoever. Thankfully, the baby was returned, and the judge sided on the side of Jody. Otherwise, they would have gotten the DUNCE Cap of the Month Award. Go look the article up. It's rather long, as you can tell. It's at healthimpactnews.com, and look it up. Guys, it is not grounds for taking your kid away for refusing vaccines. That is your right as a parent. Okay, please remember that, or you may get the DUNCE Cap of the Month Award yourself. The other runner-up I have, and I want to zip through these so I'm not doing it all night. Chicago isn't safe despite safe passage signs. This is from gunsavelives.com. Safe passage, it's a sign that they hang in Chicago, is a feel-good slogan dreamed up by Chicago Police Chief Gary McCarthy and the Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who is a fascist, to foster a sense of safety where there is none. They have dragged city employees off their jobs and forced them to man positions along designated safe passage route. Everyone from firefighters to sanitation workers. Yes, the garbage men and firemen are now acting as cops. Well, Chicago, don't they have together? The Chicago Public Schools have also hired hundreds of people screened for drugs, and criminal histories were sure to watch the routes. Gary McCarthy, the political appointee police chief who believes in exporting gun control, including gun bans, as the primary solution to the orgy of violent crime under his watch. This dolt was quoted earlier this week as saying the fact that Illinois, being the only state that doesn't allow for its residents to have the option of carrying them as a means to defend themselves in public from a political hack who has bodyguards, it doesn't mean that we're wrong. Those hundreds of people hired to watch kids along to and from the school safe passage routes, it asks, they are leaving their jobs in droves, finding that minimum wage isn't worth it to face the dangerous Chicago city streets, particularly in the afternoon when the bad guys come outside. How bad is it? A week into the program, half or more of the workers in some areas have quit their jobs. CDS2 discovered some serious problems with the Safe Passage program, including street corners that were uncovered and a huge turnover. Why? Because it's become a war zone. Why has it become a war zone? It has become a war zone because of the gang thug culture that is nothing but a bunch of idiots. And it has become so because they don't allow the citizens of Chicago to arm themselves and shoot said idiots when said idiots deserve shot. That is the correct view. No questions asked. Guys, go to themediaspeak.com, click on Bud K. When you click on Bud K, you're going to get ads that come up. Some wonderful merchandise. Things like the $29.99 U.S. Marine 1942 leather neck sword and sheath. The Airsoft Military Skull Face Mask, bone color, $29.99. You will find the Avalanche Mini Crossbow Tactical Pistol, 50 pounds, $19.99. Perfect for hunting, as hunting season is upon us. And when you do that, when you go to themediaspeaks.com and click on WebK, when you do it in that order, you are helping the correct views, you are helping the Media Speaks, and you are getting wonderful top-of-the-line merchandise. That is a win-win-win situation. Guys, I want to hop on to the last two of the runner-ups here. Infowars.com. Former NSA director advocates Chinese-style internet. Now, keep in mind, you can be killed in China for things that you put on the internet. That needs to be known before I read this. During a speech at St. John's Episcopal Church, a church is a great place to sign people up for death. Yesterday, former NSA and CIA Director Michael Hayden advocated a move towards a Chinese-style World Wide Web where users are forced to identify themselves before posting online content. Comparing the internet to the Wild West in Somalia, Hayden indicated that he would like to see the United States adopt a system of web policing similar to that used in Communist China, where users are mandated to submit to real name registration before they can use services like Weibo, which is Twitter in China. So, of course, this is a step in the direction. Soon you can be prosecuted and lose your license for posting lies. A little bit further down the slippery slope, you can be shot for what you put online, or arrested, or put into an NSA detention center. That's what happened in China. It's not something I made up. Bonehead here. You're opening yourself up to identity theft. So maybe somebody else can post something in your name, and everything I just laid out to you will still happen. The problem I have with the internet is that it is anonymous, remarked Hayden. Well, that's because you are an unpatriotic hack, Hayden. Although the implementation of the real name registration system in China has been fraught with technical difficulties, its ultimate intention is to prevent social network users from spreading rumors about the ruling Communist Party. In other words, it's all about crushing dissent. In other words, you'll be criticizing the president and you might be hauled off to jail 20 years from now if you follow the advice that idiot Hayden is giving you to follow today. Prominent microbloggers who attract millions of followers as a result of criticizing the Chinese government are now being arrested and forced to confess their crimes as part of a return to a Mao-style era of justice, one that Michael Hayden apparently thinks America should adopt. And think about it. China didn't implement this by saying, we're going to make you give your name and then we're going to haul you off to jail for criticizing us. They initiated it as saying it's safe. It's to prevent anonymity. And then they, of course, arrested them and killed them. That's the first step Hayden wants us to take. Guess what? The second step will be, yep, I should be careful doing that. While defending mass NSA spying on the American public via the recently revealed prison program, Hayden also claimed that Gmail was the email service of choice for terrorists. Gmail is the preferred internet service for terrorists worldwide, he stated, presumably unaware that Gmail is merely an email service and not an ISP, adding, I don't think we're going to see that in a Google commercial, but it's free, it's unambiguous, and of course it is. Well, maybe the best way I could think of to catch terrorists might be to focus on a limited section of data that proves where the likely people are, instead of increasing the size of the haystack that you're looking for the needle in. Hayden is one of the worst things to have ever happened to America, and unfortunately, he is still happening. Last of the runner-ups, puppy survives being shot in the head by a trigger-happy cop, and saddles are Infowars.com. A law enforcement officer in Jones County, Georgia, is taking heat for shooting a puppy in the head this past weekend after ignoring pleas from its owner specifically to not shoot her dogs. Miraculously, Ambo, believe it or not, the name of the puppy, survived after her owner, Anna Chrissy, music peed, M-U-S-I-C-P, I ain't even going to do it, was able to get her to the veterinarian in time. Ammo and Music Pete, good for you. Music Pete had gone down to the Jones County Sheriff's Department on Sunday to ask officers to investigate what she believed to be a stolen vehicle on her property. According to Music Pete, she stayed at the station while police went to her property to inspect the vehicle. She said she told police the breeds of her two dogs and let them know that neither dog was aggressive. The worst that would happen, she told the officers, is that he will be licked to death. The puppy may jump. We have been trying to get her off of that since we got her, and they laughed. And he said not to worry about it. I told them twice, please don't shoot my dogs. They are my babies. Music Pete said to officers, according to the blog she created in support of ammo. There's a link to it. Unfortunately, her attempts to prevent the tragedy were not. Music Pete says when she arrived at home, she found her roommate, Kyle Seabrill, sitting on the ground and ammo on his lap. The account from Police State USA about 5 minutes later is when the sheriffs pulled up, came flying in. As Sergeant Little was exiting the vehicle, and he was exiting, I noticed he already had his firearm trained on ammo, who was just sniffing around the ground, wagging her tail. And then she looked up at him, did not growl, did not bark, and before I could say anything, he fired the weapon, shot her point blank in the head. I went to rush toward ammo, and he trained his weapon on me. She explained, I identified myself, saying, I'm Kyle, lower your weapon. He did not. He did, and they allowed me to tend to ammo. Music Pete says when she arrived, she asked the officer why he shot ammo, despite her testimony that the dogs were friendly. However, the idiot Sergeant Little told Music Pete that he never heard her say any of that. And then there's an ongoing thing here about animals getting killed by officers who are in charge of their welfare. But no, even that, and though it came damn close, it did not win the Dunce Cap of the Month award. Now, here is, before I go into it, the beautiful Dunce Cap designed by the one and only behind-the-scenes Queen Christelle. She is on vacation, in which she keeps taking longer and longer and longer because, well, she does that. This is her Dunce Cap of the Month award. PrisonPlanet.com, the winner of the Dunce Cap of the Month award. While you're seeing the gun, 7th graders are suspended for 9 months, which is the whole year, for playing with a toy gun at home. It's his own damn property. So this is why I'm going to put this up here so that you guys can all see the Dunce Cap that was made. Look at that. And that. And that. PrisonPlanet.com, Steve Watson. This is your Dunce Cap of the Month award winner. Last week, in the wake of the Navy Yard shooting in Washington, D.C., we predicted that we'd see another wave of knee-jerk overreactions. Well, we have. The latest incident occurred in Virginia, where a 7th grader and his friend have been suspended from school for playing with a toy gun in the boys' own front yard outside of school hours. It wasn't even during school time. WAVY-TV reports that while waiting for the school bus, the boys were fooling around with an airsoft replica handgun, shooting plastic pellets at a target attached to a tree with a safety net rigged up to catch any off-target pellets. In other words, perfectly safe. The neighbors saw them and called in a complaint to police. The caller even acknowledged that the gun wasn't real, telling the 911 dispatcher that it was not a real one, but it makes people feel uncomfortable. I know that it makes me uncomfortable as a mom to see a boy pointing a gun. Well, it makes me uncomfortable to know that anybody that would call the police on a child playing with a gun makes me uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable to know that somebody that's stupid could possibly be in my country. I'm going to show this to you because I'm about to turn the screen over to read it. I haven't printed it yet, so read it now. When the Virginia Beach City Public School System got wind of the incident, it says, the principal of Lapshire Middle School decided to suspend the two boys, Khalid Caldwell and Aiden Clark, for the next 9 months, and even recommended the boys be expelled for a year for possession, handling, and use of a firearm. In a letter, the idiot principal claims that the boys shot at people near the bus stop while their parents and boys strongly refute the accusation, noting that the gun never left the yard and was left there when the school bus arrived. There are also multiple discrepancies between the principal's lies, says claims, and the boys' account of what happened. In other words, they didn't have any reason to bother the boy, so they lied and said he pointed at someone, even though it's obvious that is not what happened from what I just read. My son is my private property, said Khalid's mother, Salengo Karabala. Good for her, she's right. He does not become the school's property until he goes on the bus stop, gets on the bus, and goes to school. I'm sorry, but if your kid becomes the school's property when they get on the bus, maybe you need a dunce cap of the month award. What an idiot comment, but whatever. How dare he disobey me, the mother added. But this is a home issue. It's not a school issue, and it won't happen again. He will never do this again. While maintaining that he had never taken the gun to school, Khalid expressed remorse, noting, "It's terrible. I won't get a chance to go to a good college." That's not true. It's on your school record. The school said I had possession of a firearm. They aren't going to ask me any questions. They're going to think it was a real gun and I was trying to hurt someone, and they will say, "Oh, and we can't accept you." They've got so much of this BS going on people's permanent record that I wouldn't worry about it. But I'll go on. The city code indicates that it is not a violation to fire such airsoft guns on private property as long as reasonable care is exercised, and with the net up it was, and the fired projectiles are reasonably contained, which it was, and he was not pointing at anyone. Police would not comment on the specifics of the case, but said that they do not proactively seek out to enforce the code in such incidents involving pneumatic guns. Carvalho, it continues, will attend an alternative school, while the other boy, Clark, will now be homeschooled to the behest of his parents. Good for them. God bless them. They'll be much better off anyway. A hearing will be held in January to determine if they will be allowed back into Lake Spur School. I'd say I would piss on that school if it was on fire. Guys, here is the Dunce Cap of the Month Award. Here is what I wrote about it. And this is being sent to them along with the Dunce Cap that I showed you. I'm going to go on the screen. The Dunce Cap of the Month Award. In our nation today, only about 78% of students graduate with a high school diploma. Yet you at the Virginia Beach City Public School System have managed to do your very best to lower even that number by choosing to suspend a student for playing with a toy gun on his own property during his own time and not threatening anyone with the weapon, which is the only lie that you could come up with to justify bothering the lad who in fact was doing nothing wrong whatsoever. You have proved that you teach and know nothing of the right to bear arms, I wrote. You know nothing of the fact that kids do often play with guns, and you have proven beyond all reason that you at VBPS do in fact make the world a worse place to live in. For that, you win TCVs. That would be the Correct Views Dunce Cap of the Month Award. Idiots! Guys, there you go. Whole slew of stories. That is this month's Dunce Cap of the Month Award. It cost me a small fortune to send these. Sometimes it can be as high as $50. Other times it can be as little as $7. How can you help me? Go to thecorrectviews@hotmail.com and donate to me. I do this every month. I pay for it out of my own pocket. So when you give me money, it goes to a better show. Also, friends, go to themediaspeaks.com. Look up the work of Kyle Cordy-Lake and myself. We post articles and stories and videos all the time. Lastly, please look up Dana Mobley-Christ, and when you do, you'll find her on the Charity Connections. Donate to her, and let's all help her beat lung cancer. The high-def camera is not operational today. It is currently being charged. So both editions of this, both on the Correct Views and on the Media Speaks, will be the webcam copy. So when you see it, click on it. It's the only one you're getting this month. But I think the Dunce Cap of the Month Award, as always, was earned. Good night, friends. God bless.